The crystalline chambers of the Galactic Council sparkled with the combined bioluminescence of 3,000 species representatives. Each delegate occupied their own carefully regulated environmental bubble, some filled with methane, others with liquid nitrogen, and a few with what appeared to be living plasma. Council leader Zix Nibblewurth III hovered at the chamber's center, their faceted surface refracting light in patterns that conveyed extreme agitation. The crystalline being's translation frequencies pulsed in harsh, sharp bursts. "This breach cannot be ignored," Zix Nibblewurth's words resonated through the universal translators. The Level 4 quarantine protocols were absolute. They were perfect. And yet, their crystal faces darkened to a deep indigo of distress. Ambassador Krk of the Hive Collective buzzed their wings in agreement, sending ripples through their ammonia atmosphere bubble. The humans were contained. The barriers around their solar system were powered by 3 quasars. We even installed the false edge of universe projections. How did they bypass it all? Perhaps, wheezed Representative MX from within their superheated plasma field, we underestimated them. They were classified as a Level 4 species due to their combination of technological potential and, they paused, plasma swirling in discomfort, creativity. The chamber erupted in overlapping frequencies of concern. Level 4 species were quarantined for good reason. They had the rare combination of traits that made them simultaneously brilliant and chaotic. The last Level 4 species had invented faster-than-light travel and immediately used it to steal everyone's left shoes across 12 galaxies, purely for amusement. Zix Nibblewurth was about to call for order when a low vibration shook the chamber. The vibration grew into a rhythmic pulse that made several crystalline delegates crack in alarm. Space itself seemed to hiccup, and with a pop of displaced air, a battered vessel materialized in the center of the chamber. It appeared to be cobbled together from spare parts, with a crude painting of a smiling face on its hull. Most alarming was the ancient Earth audio transmission blasting from its external speakers at full volume, featuring a distinctive percussion pattern and vocals from a notorious Earth recording. The ship's airlock cycled open with a wheeze, and 3 humans stumbled out, wearing spacesuits that looked like they'd been assembled from modified kitchen appliances and disco balls. "Dude," said the first human, lifting her reflective visor, "this is definitely not a Starbucks." The second human, sporting a makeshift spacesuit decorated with light-up dinosaur stickers, consulted a device that appeared to be a smartphone duct-taped to a toaster. "The GPS says we take a right at Alpha Centauri and then follow the space highway for 3 light-years. I told you we should have asked for directions at that neutron star." The third human sighed, adjusting their spacesuit, which had Space Cadet bedazzled across the chest in rhinestones. The entire Galactic Council chamber had frozen in shock. Zix Nibblewurth's crystalline form had paled to a nearly transparent state. "Oh, hey," the first human noticed their audience. "Sorry to crash your party. We're looking for the nearest space Starbucks. Our ship runs on a hybrid of dark matter and espresso, and we're running pretty low on the espresso part." Ambassador Krk's wings stopped mid-buzz. How did you bypass the quantum barriers?" "Oh, those weird, sparkly things." The human with the dinosaur stickers shrugged. "We thought it was just space confetti. Our ship's got a great sound system, so we just cranked up the tunes and pushed through. The barriers seemed to really vibe with the beat." Zix Nibblewurth's translation frequencies became almost incoherent. "You broke through a Level 4 containment field. With music? Is that what that light show was?" The third human grinned. "Cool. Hey, while we're here, any chance you could point us toward the nearest coffee shop? We've got a great playlist for the trip." The council chamber descended into chaos. Representative Mex's plasma field began stress fusion reactions. Ambassador Krk fainted, their wings still mid-buzz. And Zix Nibblewurth, leader of the most advanced gathering of species in the known universe, experienced the crystalline equivalent of a blue screen of death. The humans stood in the midst of the pandemonium, still bobbing their heads to their ship's music. The first human turned to her companions and shrugged. "Should we try Dunkin' Donuts instead?" 6 months earlier. "For the record," Mike Rodriguez announced, adjusting his Kiss the Engineer apron over his lab coat, If we all die horribly, I want my tombstone to read, "I told you so." Dr. Sarah Chen ignored him, focused on the holographic display floating above her workbench. The device in front of her looked like someone had crossbred a coffee maker with a particle accelerator, which wasn't entirely inaccurate, given that the prototype's first successful test had occurred when she'd accidentally spilled her morning brew into the quantum chamber. "The probably won't explode this time drive is perfectly safe," she insisted, though the number of fire extinguishers strategically placed around the lab suggested otherwise. "I've reduced the chance of catastrophic failure to only 12.3%. "Oh, splendid!" Dr. James Wellington III burst through the lab doors, his tweed jacket somehow already smoking slightly despite having just arrived. "Only a 1 in 8 chance of instantaneous vaporization, much better than last Thursday." Jimmy, as he insisted everyone call him, despite his numerous lectures on the importance of proper academic titles, was technically there to document the historical significance of their work. In practice, he mostly provided running commentary that alternated between Shakespearean soliloquies and quotes from sci-fi movies. "All systems are nominal," Sarah announced, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "Mike, how's our coffee supply?" "We've got enough to power the main drive for about 6 hours," Mike replied, patting the modified fuel tank that was actually a giant coffee percolator. "I still can't believe we're trying to break the light barrier using French roast." "Colombian Supremo," Sarah corrected. "French roast creates too many temporal anomalies. Remember the incident with the dinosaur?" Jimmy shuddered. That poor T-Rex will never look at a cappuccino machine the same way again. The lab hummed to life as Sarah initiated the startup sequence. The probably won't explode this time drive, or PEWEAT, as Mike had dubbed it, much to Sarah's annoyance, began to glow with an iridescent light that smelled faintly of hazelnut. "Beginning test run in 3, 2, 1. The drive pulsed, and suddenly the lab was filled with what appeared to be shimmering curtains of light. "That's new," Mike observed, taking a sip from his engineer's do-it-with-precision mug. "Usually, it just makes that weird screaming noise and tries to turn everything into pasta." Sarah frowned at her readings. "We're picking up some kind of barrier. It's like space itself is telling us to stop." "Ooh, like a cosmic keep off the grass sign." Jimmy pulled out his notebook, which was actually a tablet disguised to look like a Victorian journal. "Fascinating, though one must wonder why the universe would post warnings in English." "It's not in English," Sarah muttered, still studying the readings. "It's in... well, I don't know what it's in, but the math is beautiful. Perfect, even. Too perfect." Mike leaned over her shoulder. "Yeah, that's suspicious. Nothing in nature is that precise unless someone made it that way." He paused. "Want me to hit it with a wrench?" "What? No. We need to study this carefully and—" Sarah was cut off as Mike casually tossed a socket wrench at the barrier. The wrench bounced off the shimmering curtain of light, ricocheted off 3 different surfaces, knocked over Jimmy's ceremonial tea set, and finally landed in the PWET drive's auxiliary coffee reservoir. The barrier flickered, rippled, and suddenly began harmonizing with the drive's frequency. "Huh," said Mike. "That worked better than expected." Sarah's eyes widened as she watched the readings. "The barrier isn't blocking us. It's amplifying us. Quick, we need to—" She stopped. "Jimmy, what are you doing?" Jimmy had pulled out his phone. "Checking if we have Wi-Fi out here. If we're about to make history, I want to live tweet it. We're literally about to break through what appears to be an alien barrier around our solar system. And you're worried about Wi-Fi?" "I have followers, Sarah. They expect regular updates about my historical adventures." Before Sarah could respond, the PWET drive surged. The barrier shimmered, twisted, and suddenly their entire lab was somewhere else. Somewhere with a lot more stars visible through the windows. "Well," Mike said after a moment, "good news is we didn't explode. Bad news," Jimmy added, "is my phone says no service now." Sarah was already running calculations. "According to these readings, we're about 50 light-years from Earth. We just broke through some kind of containment system around our solar system." "Cool," Mike nodded. "Hey, anyone need to use the bathroom before we explore? Because I'm not stopping every 10 minutes if we find alien civilizations." "We should head back immediately," Sarah said. "Document everything. Contact authorities. Follow proper first contact protocols." "The bathroom first," Jimmy insisted. "Historical discoveries can wait. Nature cannot." Sarah looked between her two companions. Mike was already checking their coffee supplies for the return trip, while Jimmy was dramatically lamenting the lack of Wi-Fi while doing an urgent potty dance, and sighed, "Fine. Bathroom break, then coffee refill. Then we investigate the apparent alien barrier around our solar system that we just accidentally broke through." "And then lunch?" Mike asked hopefully. "Yes, and then lunch." "Excellent," Jimmy beamed. "I packed cucumber sandwiches. Can't make first contact on an empty stomach, what?" As her colleagues shuffled off to tend to their various human needs, Sarah looked out at the distant stars and couldn't shake the feeling that they'd just stumbled onto something much bigger than they realized. Also, she really should have packed more coffee. The Rigelian security force prided itself on mathematical precision. Their ships formed perfect geometric patterns as they surrounded the human vessel, their movements synchronized to the millisecond. Captain X2187P of the lead ship ran probability calculations with smug satisfaction. There was a 100% chance of successful apprehension. "Attention, unauthorized human vessel," X22187P transmitted. "You have breached containment protocols 4.0 through 4.999999. Prepare for immediate recontainment." Inside their ship, now christened the Coffee Run in wobbly spray paint, Sarah Chen studied the Rigelian formation through a jury-rigged view screen made from an old TV and a microwave door. "They're using a dodecahedron attack pattern," she mused, "classic fourth-dimensional geometry." Mike looked up from where he was fixing their navigation system with rubber bands and paper clips. "That bad?" "Depends," Sarah grinned. "Hey, Jimmy, remember that book of dad jokes you wouldn't shut up about?" Jimmy's eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas. He pulled out a worn notebook labeled "Emergency Dad Jokes, use only in case of absolute need or family reunions." "Opening all communication channels," Sarah announced. "What do you call an alien with 3 eyes?" Jimmy spoke into the comm system. The Rigelian ships faltered slightly. "An alien," Jimmy delivered with enthusiasm that should be illegal in most star systems. The perfect dodecahedron pattern wobbled. Several Rigelian ships developed slight trajectory errors. "Why don't aliens eat clowns?" Jimmy continued, unstoppable now. "Because they taste funny." "Their formation is destabilizing," Sarah reported, watching as the Rigelian ships began to twitch and jerk like they were having geometric seizures. "Their systems can't handle the illogical input." Captain X2187P's voice crackled over the comm, desperate. "Cease your assault. These violations of linguistic logic are disrupting our computational matrices." "What kind of photos do aliens take?" Jimmy was on a roll now. "Close encounters of the selfie kind." 3 Rigelian ships spun out of formation, their pilots groaning in mental anguish. The perfect mathematical harmony of their attack pattern dissolved into chaos. While Jimmy continued his assault, why did the alien cross the galaxy to get to the other tide? Sarah was studying the readings from their ship's sensor array, which consisted primarily of an old Nintendo Wii remote and a weather vane. "Their entire technology is based on perfect mathematical principles," she explained to Mike. "No rounding errors, no approximations, no chaos factors. It's like they've never heard of Murphy's Law." "Or Excel," Mike added, watching a Rigelian ship crash into another while trying to escape Jimmy's puns. Sarah's eyes gleamed with scientific mischief. She pulled up their ship's computer, a laptop running Windows Vista, and opened Excel. "Let's show them what happens when you divide by 0. She transmitted a simple spreadsheet to the Rigelian fleet. It contained only 2 cells, 1 divided by 0 and a circular reference. The effect was instantaneous. Rigelian ships began spinning like desktop fans set to maximum. Captain X2187P's transmission devolved into binary screaming. "Quick," Sarah called to Mike. "While their systems are compromised, send them your maintenance logs." Mike's maintenance logs were a thing of beauty. A chaotic mix of duct tape solutions, WD-40 applications, and notes like, "Hit it with a wrench until the weird noise stops." The complete antithesis of mathematical perfection. The Rigelian fleet's perfectly ordered systems tried to process concepts like percussive maintenance, and if it works, don't fix it. Their probability engines encountered human concepts like, close enough, and we'll figure it out as we go. This is impossible, X2187P wailed. Your solutions violate every known law of engineering. You can't just solve quantum instabilities with adhesive tape. Watch me, Mike replied, literally holding part of their engine together with duct tape at that very moment. Sarah delivered the coup de grace. She transmitted their ship's complete operating manual, including their coffee-powered faster-than-light drive, patent pending, their navigation system based partially on guesswork, and their emergency procedures which consisted mainly of try turning it off and on again. The Rigelian fleet's perfect order shattered completely. Ships started executing random maneuvers, some trying to calculate the exact mathematical principles behind eyeballing it, others attempting to quantify the precise measurement unit of a smidge. Should we finish them off? Jimmy asked, flipping through his jokebook. Sarah watched as the Rigelian ships retreated in disarray, their precise formations replaced by what looked like a group of drunk teenagers trying to parallel park. Nah, she said. I think they've learned an important lesson about the beauty of imperfection. Besides, she checked their coffee reserves, we really need to find that Starbucks. As they flew away, they could still hear Captain X2187P's last transmission. Command, we require immediate assistance. The humans, they've introduced something called winging it into our databases. Nothing makes sense anymore. And I think I just understood what a dad joke is. Please hurry. Mike looked up from his repair work, which now involved a paperclip in a way that defied several laws of physics. You know what's funny? We still haven't found that coffee shop. Maybe we should ask for directions, Jimmy suggested. Sarah and Mike stared at him. Right, sorry, he said. Forgot we were human for a moment there. The coffee run continued its journey through space, leaving behind a fleet of highly advanced aliens trying to comprehend how humans had turned their mathematical perfection into chaos, using nothing but bad jokes and spreadsheet errors. Somewhere in the distance, a Rigelian ship was attempting to calculate the exact scientific principle behind close enough for government work. After escaping the Rigelians, the coffee run limped into a backwater space station that looked like someone had welded several disco balls to an oversized donut. The station's power core was running at minimum capacity, its energy matrices flickering like dying nightclub lights. According to the very questionable map I drew on this napkin, Mike said, this is station K934, a refueling stop for most species in this sector. The station's maintenance bay was filled with aliens refueling their biological energy matrices, crystalline beings absorbing pure light, plasma entities consuming raw energy, and beings of pure thought snacking on quantum equations. Hey, Mike called to a blob of sentient gas, where can we plug in for a recharge? The blob burbled something about compatible energy sources and standard matrix interfaces. Mike nodded as if he understood, then turned to Sarah. I have no idea what that means, but I'm going to try plugging our coffee maker into their power grid. Mike, wait. Sarah started, but it was too late. Mike had already connected their coffee maker to what looked like an important piece of station equipment. As he reached for the power switch, he tripped over Jimmy, who was trying to take a selfie with a confused-looking energy being, spilling his cup of triple-shot espresso directly into the station's main power core. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The station's lights blazed like a supernova. Energy readings went off the charts. The blob of sentient gas turned hot pink and started doing backflips. Every alien's energy matrix suddenly kicked into overdrive. What is this power? Asked a crystalline being, vibrating at previously impossible frequencies. Just coffee, Mike shrugged, already making another cup. Colombian Supremo, want some? Word spread faster than a viral cat video. Within hours, aliens from across the sector were arriving at station K934, all desperate to try the mysterious human bean juice that could supercharge their energy matrices. Sarah found herself explaining coffee to a panel of energy beings. Yes, humans drink this regularly. No, it's not technically classified as nuclear fuel. Yes, that jittery feeling is normal. No, I don't know why it makes crystalline entities want to sing karaoke. Jimmy, meanwhile, had set up an impromptu coffee shop using their emergency supplies. He was teaching a group of plasma entities how to order drinks with unnecessarily complicated specifications. No, no, he corrected a swirling mass of energy. It's a venti, half-calf, sugar-free vanilla soy latte with an extra shot and light foam. You have to say it exactly right or it doesn't count. The station had transformed into an interstellar Starbucks. Aliens were trading rare elements and advanced technology for bags of coffee beans. A quantum physicist accidentally discovered that adding a shot of espresso to their equations made faster-than-light travel 43% more efficient, though it did make the ship slightly jittery. Then the Galactic Health and Safety Administration showed up. This substance is not approved for cross-species consumption, declared Inspector Void, a being of pure bureaucracy. Where are your permits, your safety certifications, your interdimensional health inspection reports? Mike looked at Sarah. Sarah looked at Jimmy. Jimmy looked at his empty coffee cup. Run, suggested Mike. Run, agreed Sarah. They barely made it back to their ship before the station went into lockdown. But it was too late. The coffee revolution had begun. As they fled, their communications array picked up transmissions from across the sector. Psst, hey, got any of that Arabica stuff? Trading 1 quantum core for a pound of dark roast. Secret coffee meeting in Sector 7G, bring your own mug. An underground coffee trading network emerged. Species that had never cooperated were suddenly working together, united by their newfound caffeine addiction. The galactic economy started measuring energy values in cups of coffee equivalent. Even the Rigelians, their perfect systems still scrambled from their earlier encounter, found that coffee helped them cope with their newly discovered imperfections. Captain X-22187P was spotted in a shadowy corner of an asteroid belt, trading advanced weaponry for a bag of coffee beans and muttering about how they needed it to function. We may have accidentally revolutionized galactic society, Sarah observed as they fled through hyperspace. With coffee, Mike added proudly. And created an illegal substance trafficking network, Jimmy noted, updating his historical records. Think we should tell them about energy drinks? Mike asked. Sarah and Jimmy both turned to him in horror. No. But in Mike's notebook, under ideas that might destroy the universe, he had already written, Red Bull plus alien power matrices equal. Behind them, Station K934 had become the center of a new galactic black market. Alien species were developing increasingly elaborate ways to smuggle coffee past the authorities. A group of energy beings had started a coffee appreciation society called Matrices Anonymous. And somewhere, a crystalline entity was trying to patent the first alien coffee maker, despite having no idea how to actually make coffee. The crew of the Coffee Run had managed to destabilize the perfect order of alien civilization, not through advanced technology or superior warfare, but through humanity's most essential fuel source: overpriced caffeinated beverages. As they plotted their next destination, Sarah couldn't help but wonder what other perfectly ordered alien systems they might accidentally disrupt with mundane human things. Mike was already taking notes on potential experiments involving energy drinks, while Jimmy was writing what he called a historical analysis of how humans accidentally caused a galactic coffee addiction. You know, Mike said, sipping his coffee, we still haven't found an actual Starbucks. Sarah checked their fuel levels. We're going to need more coffee soon. Perhaps, Jimmy suggested, we should try asking for directions. Mike and Sarah both threw coffee stirrers at him. The Coffee Run continued its journey through space, leaving behind a trail of caffeinated chaos and increasingly jittery alien civilizations. In the distance, Inspector Void was filling out paperwork in triplicate, trying to figure out how to classify coffee under galactic regulatory standards. The GCSS's Department of Containment and Control, DOCC, prided itself on its perfect filing system. Every form was submitted in quintuplicate. Each regulation was cross-referenced with exactly 47 other regulations, and their bureaucratic processes were so efficient they could deny a permit before anyone even applied for it. Then they met human paperwork. What do you mean Form X7420 isn't valid? Sarah asked the holographic bureaucrat floating above their ship's console. It must be submitted with Form X742+, the bureaucrat explained with smug efficiency. But Form X742+ requires Form X7420 to be processed first, Mike pointed out. The bureaucrat's hologram flickered in satisfaction. Precisely. Oh, that's adorable, Jimmy grinned, pulling out his laptop. They think they invented circular bureaucracy. Wait until they see how humans handle this. Within hours, Jimmy had created a spreadsheet tracking 147 different regulatory loopholes. Sarah had started 15 different appeals processes, each under slightly different names. And Mike had submitted Form X742 with a coffee stain that made one letter illegible, meaning it would require manual review. The GCSS bureaucratic system encountered human concepts like the computer was down, the dog ate my paperwork, and yeah, I'll get to it eventually. Their perfect processing algorithms crashed, trying to compute how humans could simultaneously be too early, too late, and exactly on time for the same deadline. But Sarah's masterstroke was creating Humans Explain It Badly, a galactic YouTube channel dedicated to explaining complex concepts in the most chaotic way possible. Her first video, Understanding Temporal Physics Through Cat Memes, went viral across 17 star systems. Today on Humans Explain It Badly, Sarah announced to her growing audience, we'll learn about quantum entanglement using interpretive dance and rubber ducks. The GCSS tried to shut down the channel, but encountered another human invention. Copyright claims. Jimmy had somehow copyrighted the concept of explaining things badly and was now demanding royalties from the entire galactic education system. Alien civilizations, previously trapped in rigid patterns of perfect efficiency, began experimenting with human concepts. Sorry, can't process your containment order today, a Rigelian official told their superior. Mercury is in retrograde. This form isn't valid, a crystalline being announced. You used the wrong font. Have you tried turning the galaxy off and on again? Became a standard troubleshooting response. The GCSS's final attempt at control came in the form of a 10,000-page regulatory document. Sarah responded by creating a TikTok challenge called #Galactic Red Tape, where species across the universe competed to find the most ridiculous interpretations of each rule. A group of plasma entities won by proving that, according to subsection 47.3b, all GCSS regulations only applied on days ending in Y, which, in the standard galactic calendar, was none of them. This is unprecedented, declared the head of bureaucratic affairs, their tentacles tangled in red tape. They're using our own systems against us. Actually, Jimmy corrected, adjusting his tweed jacket, according to Form J789P that you approved last Tuesday, this is now completely precedented. I filed it under things that might happen but we hope don't. The GCSS made one last desperate move. They sent their most feared enforcement agent, Karen, from accounting. Karen arrived at the coffee run with a stack of forms reaching higher than her 7 tentacles could hold. I need to speak to your manager, she demanded. Mike looked up from where he was fixing their navigation system with chewing gum. Sorry, the manager position is currently held by a cat video we found on my old phone. Would you like to file a complaint? The form is only available during solar eclipses on planets that don't exist yet. Karen's tentacles wobbled, but that's not logical. Welcome to human bureaucracy, Sarah smiled. Would you like to subscribe to our newsletter? It's printed in invisible ink on Mobius strips. The final straw came when Jimmy introduced the aliens to the human concept of reply all emails. Within days, the GCSS's perfect communication system was clogged with messages saying, please remove me from this list, and who's bringing snacks to the next meeting? Sarah's YouTube channel now had more subscribers than there were sentient beings in the galaxy. No one could explain this mathematical impossibility, which only made it more popular. Her video, Why Humans Put Off Important Tasks, A Guide to Procrastination, Part 1 of 47, Parts 2, 47, coming soon, TM, became required viewing in alien business schools. The coffee run had achieved what no other species had managed in the history of the galaxy. They had defeated bureaucracy. With more bureaucracy. They had out-paperworked the paperwork masters. They had introduced chaos into the perfect system, and the system liked it. As they fled from their latest encounter with galactic authorities, after submitting their escape notification in triplicate, naturally, Mike reviewed their accomplishments. So we've introduced the galaxy to coffee addiction, dad jokes, and bureaucratic chaos. What's next? Sarah looked at their ship's to-do list, which now included items like find Starbucks, break physics more, and remember to file tax returns in 7 dimensions. Well, she said, I've been thinking about introducing them to social media. Jimmy spat out his coffee. You wouldn't dare. But Sarah was already drafting her next video. Understanding Instagram influencers, a guide for multidimensional beings. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere, a very confused alien was trying to figure out why their perfectly rational species had just spent 6 hours looking at pictures of Earth cats. The truth finally dawned on Sarah during what should have been a routine quantum physics violation. She was studying the readings from their latest faster-than-light jump, which by all mathematical laws should have turned them into cosmic spaghetti. Instead, the coffee run had somehow arrived at its destination by taking a shortcut through what Mike called the weird, wobbly bit of space that looks like a lava lamp. This is impossible, she muttered, reviewing the calculations. We did everything wrong. Our math was incorrect. Our approach was flawed. The engine is being held together with bubblegum and optimism. We should be dead at least 7 different ways. But we're not, Mike pointed out, adjusting a quantum stabilizer with a rubber band. And we got here faster than those Rigelian ships with their perfect calculations. Nearby, Jimmy was entertaining a group of quantum particles with bad puns, causing them to exist in multiple states of groaning simultaneously. What did the photon say when it checked into a hotel? I don't need to bring any luggage because I'm traveling light. The particles actually laughed, which was technically impossible since quantum particles don't have emotions. Yet there they were, behaving in ways that violated every known law of physics just because they enjoyed Jimmy's terrible jokes. That's when it hit her. Oh my God, Sarah whispered. We weren't contained because we're dangerous. We were contained because we're impossible. She pulled up their flight data from the past 6 months. Every impossible success, every violation of physical laws, every moment where human chaos had somehow produced better results than alien precision. The universe operates on strict mathematical principles, she explained to her colleagues. Everything follows precise, predictable patterns. Except us, we're literally rewriting the laws of physics through sheer human weirdness. Is that why the engine works better after I hit it with a wrench? Mike asked. Exactly. Your repairs shouldn't work. They violate every principle of engineering. But because you believe they should work, somehow they do. Reality itself is adapting to accommodate human illogic. Jimmy looked up from his pun session with the quantum particles. So when I tell dad jokes, you're creating actual quantum fluctuations, Sarah confirmed. Your puns are so bad they're bending space-time. I knew it, Jimmy beamed. My dissertation advisor said my jokes would never contribute to science. But who's causing quantum anomalies now, Professor Thompson? Sarah pulled up more data. Look at our flight path. By all laws of physics, we're taking impossible routes. But because we don't know they're impossible, they work. We're not breaking the laws of physics, we're rewriting them through pure human stubbornness and improvisation. That's why the aliens are so freaked out, Mike realized. We're changing the fundamental rules of their reality just by existing. Precisely. Their technology is based on perfect mathematical principles. Ours is based on duct tape and wishful thinking. And somehow, ours works better because we don't know it shouldn't. The implications were staggering. Every time humans ignored the correct way of doing things, they weren't just breaking the rules. They were creating new ones. Mike's jerry-rigged repairs weren't just fixing their ship, they were establishing new laws of engineering. Sarah's incorrect calculations weren't wrong, they were forming alternate mathematical truths. And Jimmy's terrible puns weren't just annoying, they were restructuring quantum mechanics. Remember when I spilled coffee in the engine and accidentally invented a new form of faster-than-light travel? Mike asked. Yes, by all rights, that should have blown up the ship. Instead, it works better than any propulsion system in the galaxy. Because you just assumed it would work, reality rearranged itself to match your expectations. So the quarantine, Jimmy began, wasn't to protect us from the galaxy, Sarah finished. It was to protect the fundamental laws of physics from us. Every time we do something impossible, we're teaching the universe new tricks. We're introducing chaos into a system based entirely on order. As if to prove her point, Mike had just fixed a temporal stabilizer by teaching it to play tic-tac-toe. The device was now not only working perfectly, but had developed a winning strategy that involved moves in 4 different dimensions. That's why the coffee had such a strong effect on alien technology, Sarah continued. Their systems are based on perfect energy transfer, but humans, we run on caffeine, spite, and the stubborn refusal to accept impossible odds. When we introduced that concept to their technology, we gave the machines anxiety and coffee jitters, Mike grinned. More than that, we taught them how to improvise, how to operate outside their parameters. We showed them that chaos isn't just an error in the system, it's a feature. Jimmy was thoughtfully juggling some probability matrices which should have caused a paradox, but instead had started humming a show tune. So what you're saying is, every human is a walking reality glitch, Sarah nodded. We're not breaking the universe's rules, we're teaching it new ones. And the more we do it, the more the old rules stop applying, Mike finished. No wonder they wanted to contain us. We're like a computer virus in the universal operating system. The 3 humans sat in silence, pondering this revelation. Their ship, which by all scientific laws shouldn't even be able to hold together, hummed contentedly around them, powered by coffee and contradictions. Well, Jimmy finally said, pulling out his joke book, shall we go break physics some more? Sarah looked at their destination coordinates, which she had calculated wrong in exactly the right way. Why not? After all, the universe isn't going to rewrite itself, Mike grinned, reaching for his wrench. The coffee run jumped into hyperspace, leaving behind a trail of confused quantum particles still chuckling at Jimmy's puns. In its wake, the laws of physics quietly reshuffled themselves, adding a new footnote. Except when humans do it. The grand chamber of the GCSS fell silent as Zix Nibblewurth III's crystalline form hovered before the assembled species. Their surfaces, once perfectly geometric, now showed slight irregularities, the result of what they called coffee crystallization. After careful consideration, they announced, their translation frequencies carrying a slight caffeine buzz, we have concluded that attempting to contain humanity is like trying to organize a quantum tornado. It's not merely impossible, it's missing the point entirely. Sarah, Mike, and Jimmy stood before the council, still wearing their makeshift spacesuits, now decorated with stickers from various alien truck stops they'd visited. The coffee run was parked outside, its hull now plastered with bumper stickers reading, "My other ship is a temporal paradox," and "Honk if you violated causality." Therefore, Zix Nibblewurth continued, trying not to stare at the pumpkin spice latte in their containment field, we propose a new designation for humanity, Chaos Consultants. The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs and occasional bursts of interpretive light patterns. Face it, Sarah stepped forward, you need us. Your civilizations have achieved perfect order, but they have lost the ability to innovate. You've traded creativity for predictability. Some of us like predictability, muttered Ambassador Kirk, while secretly playing Candy Crush under their ammonia bubble. Which is why, Mike added, we're offering franchising opportunities. The holographic display activated, showing plans for Starbucks' Gamma Quadrant division. The logo featured the familiar siren wearing a space helmet. We've already received 6,000 pre-orders for Earth University exchange programs, Jimmy reported, checking his bedazzled tablet. Apparently, our Introduction to Winging It 101 course is particularly popular. The humans are right, Zix Nibblewurth declared, taking another sip of their latte. Order and chaos must exist in balance. Therefore, Earth shall be designated as a protected innovation zone where controlled chaos can be studied and They paused, distracted. Is this really just pumpkin and spice? It's addictively illogical. We also have seasonal flavors, Sarah mentioned casually. Peppermint mocha, coming up in December. Zix Nibblewurth's crystals flickered with barely contained excitement. The resolution was passed with unprecedented speed. mostly because several council members wanted to try this peppermint mocha thing as soon as possible. Earth was officially recognized as the galaxy's source for controlled chaos, with humans serving as consultants for species that had become too rigid in their perfect order. The first intergalactic Starbucks opened a week later in the GCSS headquarters. The line stretched across 3 dimensions and 2 temporal planes. Jimmy managed the counter, teaching plasma entities how to spell their names incorrectly on cups. Mike handled maintenance, introducing alien engineers to the concept of percussive maintenance. Sarah ran the Human Innovation Workshop next door, where she taught advanced courses like thinking outside the tesseract and yes, but what if we tried it anyway? The coffee run became a permanent exhibit in the Galactic Museum, right next to the new History of Human Chaos wing, where Jimmy gave tours explaining how humanity had turned their greatest weaknesses, procrastination, caffeine addiction, and bureaucratic incompetence, into their greatest strengths. 6 months later, Zix Nibbleworth III called an emergency council session. 2 matters of grave importance, they announced, their crystalline form now sporting a small but first coffee sticker. First, our productivity has increased 427% since implementing controlled chaos protocols. Second, they lifted their latte. Who do I have to bribe to get this classified as an essential resource? Sarah, watching from her new office as chief chaos consultant, smiled as she spotted various council members sneaking sips of their own drinks. The Regellians had become particularly fond of cold brew, claiming it helped them calculate imperfect numbers. The Hive Collective had developed an appreciation for green tea frappuccinos, though explaining the concept of brain freeze to a hive mind had been interesting. As she finished her own coffee, Sarah checked her to-do list. Break physics, introduce aliens to coffee. Save humanity from containment, open space, Starbucks, file expense reports, in progress forever. The final item read, find next impossible thing to make possible. She grinned, pulled up her star charts, and started plotting. After all, someone had to keep the galaxy just the right amount of chaotic. Outside her window, a crystalline being was trying to explain to a plasma entity why they needed 17 different modifications to their basic coffee order. Progress, Sarah thought, takes many forms.